So, earlier this year, I gave a recommendation for the book Never Die. Although, obviously, no one watched that because I'm me, but semantics. Anyway, I'm here to talk to you about the sequel to that, Pawn's Gambit. Because I honestly like this one a bit more than the original. So, here's the setup. Every 100 years, the various gods of the land hold a contest to see who will become the king of gods and sit upon the throne of godhood. Among these gods, this time around, is Natsuko, the goddess of missed opportunities and lost things. And she wants to steal the throne of godhood away from the current holder, the god of war. The game is honestly simple on paper in a way so no one could have any true advantage over anyone else. It's a scavenger hunt. The gods will randomly pick a treasured item and put it somewhere in the mortal realm and choose a champion to collect all the artifacts. A pretty simple game to hold the fate of the cosmos in, but hey, it works. It tries to keep it tries to keep the playing fields fair. Anyway, Natsuko decides to choose her Grand Warrior for this, and instead of a literal warrior, like everyone else, she chooses a strategist. Enter the main character for the book, you. No, not you listening, if anyone actually is listening. Why you? You know, the name you. That old joke. Anyway, Yu was once a well-renowned strategist, taking up the title of the Art of War. The secondary Art of War. She's Art of War number 2. She inherited the title from her grandmother, who taught her everything she knew about how to make war as a strategist. Anyway, after an incident, namely where she got her prince killed in battle and then propped up a fake in order to keep the war going so she could win, but was found out and now she's living on the run. That was about 5 years ago to her. She is now lost her title, lost most of her reputation, and is now just performing side hustles by hustling people in a board game so that she can afford booze money. Yeah, she's midday drunk depressed. It's in this that Natsuko shows up and chooses you to be her champion, hoping to use a strategist to rival out the other gods who have chosen warriors, and use the strategy that can hopefully get her on the throne of godhood, promising you that she can erase her mistakes and bring back something that she's lost. With that, the two together set off to end the nearly eternal war that's going on right now and get over their respective past. Because Natsuko also has a bit of a past, or at least she experiences everyone's past at once, or potential past. Overall, I generally like this one more than Never Die, as I already stated. This one takes a broader look at the world instead of it being more insular like Never Die was, so we have a better sense of the world itself and what's going on right now. And this world is on the brink of destruction because there's a never-ending war going on because the God of War is in charge, and he's decided that if I'm going out, I'm going to go out on a flaming chariot of death and skulls. Not literally, but honestly, the world at times feels like the world's on a flaming chariot full of burning skulls. Anyway, with this world on the brink, you have you, who, as I stated, is a midday drunk, self-pitying person, wrapped up in her own past mistakes, past issues, and traumatic childhood. Learning the art of war wasn't easy. Throughout the book, she's on constant swings of regaining her past glory, while also being haunted by her mistakes, war itself, because she literally hates war, the very concept of it, all the while trying to play this game with hopes of potentially fixing something that she broke. Overall, she makes for an interesting protagonist because, unlike a cast of warriors from Never Die, she's not a fighter. Yeah, she has to hire people to fight for her and or convince them to look the other way when she needs to escape. She does have some skills in combat, but she's not a one-man army strategist. She's a sacrifice 10 to save 100 type strategist. Again, she does have her own skill and power as a fighter, but she constantly demonstrates throughout the book her skill is strategy, not violence. Or, well, not using her own violence, but coming up with a strategy to utilize violence for its own end. She's coming up with plays and counterplays while also throwing herself into the thick of it occasionally. Sometimes for good, sometimes because the plan's gone awry and she needs to fix it. Speaking of our main characters, there's Natsuko. She is a fun one who carries the weight of what it means to be a god. Interesting note, at the beginning of the story, she takes on the appearance of a little girl, but at Yu's insistence, she takes on the appearance of an older, like, granny, again, because Yu insisted that the little girl didn't fit her idea of what it meant to be a god. Although she doesn't change her personality, so she still acts the same, she just physically looks a ton older. She's a very interesting sort because, she's a god. She's disconnected from the world as whole, but at the same time, completely surrounded by the whole world's troubles and, well, pain, while also being detached from the individual human experience because, she's a god. So she'll sympathize with humanity as a whole, but when it comes to the individual suffering, she's like, stand up and fix it yourself. Yeah, she's one of those gods. One thing I find really interesting is that this book takes a very interesting look at what it means to be a god of lost things and missed opportunities. You would think that'd be a pretty worthless god because, it's not the god that shoots lightning or the god that makes the food. So what does she do? She records what could have been. And, well, she does go occasionally on these interesting, sorrowful monologues about opportunities that were snatched away because of happenstance or the war that's raging across the world that she desperately wants to end. Because in her own words, nothing causes more missed opportunities than war. She would like to avoid that at all cost. They also do an interesting thing with her abilities because, she's also the god of lost things. And that gives her a bit of an unfair advantage because, the artifacts or the items that the gods put out are essentially lost things. So she's able to find out where they are, but she can't really retrieve them herself. And she can't really interfere that much with the actual game. She can only give guidance. Which does suck, but at the same time makes sense to make this balanced. So, yeah. Despite being the god of lost things, she's actually pretty damn useful. Oh, also, she's bankrolling the whole journey because she can pull out lost treasures from the literal ether because they're also lost things. There are a fun cast of side characters in this book, too. I forget his name, but there's a side character who joins early on with his hopes of becoming a hero and developing his own special abilities. But he's basically told by everyone it's kind of impossible at this point for him to develop one, only for Natsuko to basically go, boop, here you go, buddy, and gives him a special ability that doesn't seem to match his tool set at all, but he's grateful for it, and he's gonna keep trying to explore what it means to have this power now. As far as the antagonists go, the human antagonists are basically just kind of obstacles in their way / almost little Terminators. But the god antagonist, the god of war, is an interesting sort. He's not the Ares yell and fight god of war. He's more in line with Artemis. He's smart and clever and comes up with schemes within schemes for getting his goals. Oftentimes his goal being, let's do more war. Because, god of war. So, that's his whole shtick. There are more side characters and other important characters, but those are the ones that stand out to me in the moment. And those are probably some of the better ones. Overall, I have to say, I really liked Pawn's Gambit. Again, I liked it more than Never Die, and I pretty much really liked Never Die. If I have any downsides to say in this book, is that I would like to see a bit more of the world. But hey, there's a third book on the horizon, and hopefully we'll get to see more of the world in that one. Or at least more of the post-apocalyptic world that should hopefully be fixed by now. But I doubt it. Uh, anyway, with that said, I will see all of you guys here next time. Again, this is a really fun book, and it's always fun to see more fantasy settings not based in the traditional European thing, but more into the classical Chinese and Wushu stuff. So yeah. Till next time, everybody.